everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Testimony. Glad to have everybody back with us, and we have finally got the gang back together. Brady and Brother Caleb are with us. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great.
It's good to have you back. We missed you for the last few episodes, but we're glad to have everybody back with us today. And we're just going to kind of talk a little bit today and kind of catch up with everybody. And we'll just see where this episode goes. But again, glad to have everybody with us. Brother Brady, we'll start with you. What's been going on?
Nothing much. Just going to youth camps, taking the youth kids to all these camps, going back and forth. One day we were just kind of sitting around, and then the next day it was 3 weeks of youth camp back to back to back, and it was an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm finally caught up with sleep, but it's been a journey. We're excited to, we're the youth leaders, and we're excited to be able to do this with all the kids and to be able to take them places and do things that our youth leaders did for us. We're a lot younger than our youth leaders were, but I feel like they had a lot more energy than what we have. But no, it's been good. But we've been super, super busy. But the Lord's been good to us.
So that's something that's new, and we'll get into it here in a minute. But you mentioned youth leaders. I think that position, you just accepted that a little bit ago, or a few weeks ago or whatnot. We'll get into that a little bit later, though. But Caleb, what's going to be going on with you?
Nothing much. Just like Brady was saying, youth camps. I went to 2 back to back. I didn't go to the third with them down in Flatwoods, Kentucky, but I assume God was there as He was at all the other youth camps as well, and just God's been good to us. Getting back to work a little bit and doing what I can, trying to do what I can for God, and stay in the Word and preach and do what He's called me to do. And we are recording this episode a little ahead of time, but today is August 11th, so in 4 days will be 1 year since the transplant.
Wow.
And God has been good to us. He's helped me. There's still, as far as medications goes and adjusting some of my insulins and stuff like that, there's just some tiny wrinkles still being ironed out. But overall, God's really helped. God's really touched. The last kidney function I got back was 107%, which is
good.
Over the top, and
Yeah.
Bible says God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think, and He has definitely done that in our lives, and He's been faithful, and I just want to do my best to grow towards Him, draw close to Him, and be hopefully a fraction of as faithful as He's been to me, to Him in ministry and being a light to the world and sharing my testimony and sharing the gospel with others. So God has been good to us.
Good. That's great. Update on the garden?
The garden is out of control. So the green beans, they're really bushed up. I've just not got a lot of pods on there.
We're the same.
As far as the cucumbers and the tomatoes are sprouting all over the place. Good and green, good size, still growing. We don't have any red or yellows yet, but we'll get there eventually. Yeah. The cucumbers are the most ginormous cucumbers I've ever seen in my life.
I just pulled one the other day that's comparable to the ones you've got.
Yeah, they
I couldn't even get my hand around.
Yeah, that's how mine have. They've been about 3 inches. If you measure from side to side, it's about 3 inches wide.
Yeah.
And they've been coming out anywhere from like 10 and a half, 11 inches long. And I mean, they almost look like green eggplants.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
True.
comparable to size and that. And so it's doing good. I'm going to have to get rid of some stuff because I'm not going to have enough refrigerator space, especially with the size of the cucumbers for all those vegetables. But we've also got all of our chickens finally lined out. We got 9 chickens, I think, now. All of them are for sure hens. We don't have no more turkeys.
Turkeys. Yeah.
And we don't have no roosters. So the story behind that is we went and got our first batch of 8, and out of the first batch of 8, we ended up with 3 turkeys and 2 roosters, and all 8 were only supposed to be hens because we're not allowed to have roosters, and we didn't want turkeys. So I ended up having to get rid of those, and we've just been kind of looking around, shopping around, trying to make sure that we get only hens. And we ended up driving out to Indiana, about an hour and 20 minutes from home, to pick up 5 hens that a man was getting rid of because he had too many. They were just they're a little bit of an older couple. And so we've got that taken care of now. So we'll start getting eggs here soon. And, being able to use those, eat those.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little farm on a 1 acre lot in Germantown that we've got going in the backyard. But God's been blessing it and helping us. We've been learning a lot through it. We've talked on the podcast about it as far as, teaching our kids about salvation and stuff with it. And I've used some of the stuff that I've learned in the last message I preached here about growing. And I went through the process of photosynthesis and, just learning all that over again. I know you go through it at school, but you go back over it and really start applying it, and you can kind of draw the parallels of God's creation to His Word. And so it's been a blessing, and it's doing good, and we're enjoying it. The boys, I think, enjoy it even more than I do now, going out and seeing if they can find huge cucumbers and asking if they're ready to pick. And I believe whenever we pick the first tomato, they might run a lap around the backyard or something. So they're enjoying it, but I'm glad they are. They're getting ready to go back to school, and that's going to be a blessing for them to be in a Christian school. We found out that Grayson's class and Chandler's class are prayer buddies. So once a month, the 3rd grade class goes down to the kindergarten class. Each 3rd grade class is paired with another kindergarten class. And Grayson's class is paired with Chandler's class. And they go down there and they do little activities, and they have, as kids can do, guided by the teachers, they have a little tiny prayer session and Bible lesson with them and stuff like that. So that'll be a blessing for my kids to be able to pray together and grow together and help each other. And just looking forward to what God is going to continue to do for our family, our church, and hopefully just see more people get saved before the Lord comes back.
Yeah, school is getting ready to start. We're going to homeschool our kids again. We talked about doing Christian schools, where the boys go, where Caleb's boys go. That just didn't work out for us to send our kids there this year, but we're going to homeschool them, and we're getting ready for that. Only difference I will say with my garden, I had 3 tomato plants, I think 3 tomato plants. 2 of them died on me, and 1 was active. Well, now all 3 of them are
Dead?
no. I would have thought they would have died with my green thumb, right? But or non-green thumb, but they're all 3 active, and I think we counted the other day over 20 20 tomatoes on all 3 trees. So the only thing I think that we have that's different from yours is our beans are struggling, but we have watermelon, and watermelon took over my garden like
Yeah.
crazy. So we're actually going to basically triple our garden next year, so that we can fit everything that we want in there. And we're going to try and get chickens May next year. Use that white shed that I've got. We'll get rid of that and put all my stuff in my red shed, and then put that white shed in the back there. I'm thinking. I don't know for sure what we're going to do, but we're going to try to get chickens. So I'm looking forward to all that. But they've kind of heard from me lately, but I'd like to go back and just kind of go over the last few weeks since we've been here, starting with our camp. But before we get to our camp, the Sunday before was when it was announced. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Sunday before, Dad, which is our pastor, Brother Bruce McGuire, Route 4, got up and let the church know that Brother Brady and Sister Sammy were going to be our youth leaders. Just kind of asked Brady about that. He mentioned being young, and is young, but I think perfect for the job, and does great with our kids, and was I seen it. I think we seen it coming, but waiting for the decision to be announced. But Brady, what was it like? I guess when we're coming up to, did you know he was going to say that before he said it, or I'm assuming he talked to you?
Well, considering he had talked to us, yes, but before that, I don't really know. I mean, we were already the junior youth leaders, so we already had the littles, and we were working with them, taking them places, and there's only so much you can do with certain ages, comes certain things.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy, like Sammy, she has a burden to work with kids. She does. I mean, I don't know if there's a certain age to that, but I mean, she teaches, in children's church too, and all that with the little kids as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps as well. And I'm already a kid at heart. I mean, I'm 20 now, but I really have not grown up. So that's to an extent, you know what I mean? Just in my heart. So I'm still, other than my bedtime went to an old man. But other than that, I am pretty much young at heart. So
I don't know. I mean, you get your kids in bed pretty early, don't you?
Yeah, that's true. My kids, with school starting tomorrow, so my kids will be in bed in a few minutes. Which is 7:45, 8 o'clock. So.
I would love that. So that's my only thing is like with the littles and stuff. We, like I said, we don't want to keep them up too late, and we don't want to, because they're still really really little, and we don't want to, have a nightmare for their parents because they get grumpy like Tatum. She stayed at our house. I don't know if I think she was just at our house one night, and she, little kids get grumpy when they start to, and they get a little bit of an attitude, especially when they start getting to that. What is she, about 6?
Yeah.
So
She'll be 6.
yeah.
And
So
especially if they're tired.
especially when they're tired. And I remember I was the same way. But now that we have the kids, the older youth group as well, we're there with, I don't know, our oldest is 12.
13.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriella.
Okay, yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So our oldest is 13, and the youngest is 10.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a good little group there, and I remember I got saved at 12. So that kind of brings me back to, I know these kids that we have, they're not like I was, because I was completely unchurched. My family didn't go to church. I got saved later on, and then my family started going. Me and my mom got saved on the same night. So it's a little bit different than, but I hope they're enjoying it as much as we are. Sammy enjoys staying up the late nights. Like we took them to a lock-in. We've, taken them to a couple things like that, kind of getting their feet wet in, some of the youth group stuff that we did whenever we were coming up. But like I said, I'm still an old man at heart, so staying up that late really kind of gets to me. Anything past 9 o'clock, I'm kind of zoned out right
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think anybody staying up that late,
Yeah.
if we tell them, we'll just say it was lock until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6
From
a.m.
10 that night before to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And really, where we were at, there's only so much to do. And
Yeah.
then you kind of
Yeah, that's true. We have 3 boys and the 3 girls in the youth, and we took them all out to eat right before we went, and then we went and we stayed at this lock-in, like you said, from like 10 to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And we left, and it was great. Our last youth camp, the very last night, they don't have a curfew.
no.
Well, no curfew for a lot of kids mean we're staying up as late as we can. And I told them, I mean, me and Sam were driving home, so I just told them, I said, you guys can stay up as late as you want, but I will tell you, I'll, periodically check in on you guys and just make sure if you guys need anything. And, but I, just, keep in mind, you're going to be really tired, but we have like 3-hour drive, so you can sleep. Well, they went to bed the same time I did, so it had worked out pretty good. So we're still, at that age to where we're just starting to get their feet wet in the youth camp, and I just think it's a privilege to be able to have them at the same age that I remember first getting into, because a lot of these camps, they are just now getting to youth camp age.
Yep.
So it's like
Yeah.
these are their first youth camps, and I remember my first youth camp, and I won't take too much time. I know hearing one person for so long is kind of boring, but
You've been gone for a while.
yeah, I've been gone for a little bit. So the very first camp I went to was Brother Miller's camp. It was over in the Winchester campground. And I got saved in February, and then that camp was over the summer. So I was 6 months into being saved, maybe. Didn't really know anything like churchy, if you could put it that way. I mean, my fanciest dress clothes, my mom talked to Brother Jeremy. He was my youth pastor at the time. Talked with him and was like, hey, what should he wear? Because what I was wearing to church at the time was my nicest clothes, which was a pair of blue jeans, tennis shoes, and just a nicer shirt. That's all I had. So he was like, kind of walked us through and everything. And I remember I borrowed Brother Junior. I borrowed Brother Junior's dress shirts because at that time when I was 12, I was a bigger
Same size?
I was a bigger kid, so
Yeah.
I was wearing a size 12 shoe when I was 12. So
For the record, he's still a big kid.
yeah, I'm still a big kid. So
He's a 6'5" kid.
yeah. So I remember I was borrowing Brother Junior's dress shirts because I was the same size. So I took a couple of his shirts, had my blue jeans and my tennis shoes, and we went off to camp. That experience really kind of kicked it off for me. It kind of that changed my life. We went and we had a good time, and I was always kind of a shy kid. I didn't really like to be around a ton of people, and if I was around people that I don't really know, I didn't want to talk to people because I don't know them, and it's kind of awkward. So we had a good time. I got introduced to some people that to this day I'm still good friends with, and it just kind of left a lasting memory in my life. And that's something we're trying to get these kids involved with, to make memories, because they might at the time right now they may not like it all the way like me. Brother Travis Henson, he was like my only church friend. He was like my only friend. He kind of took me under his wing, and if he's listening, he is significantly older than me. No, I think he's like 5 or 6 years older than me,
Yeah.
but at the time it felt a little bit more than what it was. But we'd go places, have a bunch of fun and everything. But outside of him, I really didn't meet any of my other church friends unless I was at camps, which was amazing because, I didn't want to go. They had to talk me into going. I finally went, and I had the time of my life. I went back to another camp the next year, and then after that came here to Route 4's camp. I just kept going to more camps when I didn't really, not that I didn't want to, but it kind of pushed me outside my bounds. And you don't really realize how important that is to get outside of your comfort zone until you do.
Yeah.
Because truly, God is not going to work in your comfort zone, because it's not necessarily, your life is not necessarily just about you. The world doesn't revolve around you. And the sooner you realize that, the easier it is to get a hold of that. That's what me and Sister Sammy are trying to do. We're trying to get these kids involved, kind of push them a little bit outside their comfort zone, because when you're uncomfortable, that can be a really vulnerable time, but a lot of times it works out really, really good in the end, because then you meet a lot of really awesome people, you hear a lot of really awesome preaching, and you don't really know how that's going to impact your life.
You grow a lot from
You
that.
do. Yeah.
Especially, even young kids, when, we've got some that you are pushing them outside their comfort zone, and they went with you to youth camp, to Flatwoods, and we didn't know if they were going to go, but they end up going, and I think they had a great time.
They did.
But you're always that applies to adults too, don't it? I mean, we get to our place, but if we get out of our comfort zone, that helps us. It's uncomfortable, but it does do us better in the long run. As far as I'm that type of person. I'm socially awkward, and every time I go somewhere, like I was just at Brother Todd Hatcher's meeting, and talking to some of those brothers, man, I'd love to sit and talk to the preachers, but I find myself socially awkward, and I'll leave, and I'll think, man, I'm weird,
Hey, I was thinking, walking away from that conversation, I was thinking we were in the same conversation, and we were just kind of sitting there listening.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I need to go study my Bible a lot more than what I do.
Well, that's the truth too. But I've always been told, surround yourself around people that are smarter than you.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you'll learn. And we was sitting at our youth camp, and Brother Todd Hatcher, Brother Zach Kaufman, a few others were sitting. I think you were sitting there, Brother Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there or not, but
I don't think so.
but we're sitting there talking, and they're just the subjects, and not everybody agreed with everything, but we sat down, and well, I say not everybody agreed with, I don't know, but if there was disagreement, you didn't know about it. It was just good conversation, sitting down talking about different things, the deity of Christ and different things of that nature.
Yeah, and that's valuable, because
yeah.
we need to normalize that again, where you can sit down with somebody that
Yep.
does not believe to a T like you, because no one's going to believe to a T.
Right.
I mean, there's core beliefs that as a believer you must believe. The blood of Jesus is not a debate. That washes from all sin. That's not a debate. Will cover anyone who asks him to. Will cleanse anyone who asks him to.
Yeah.
That's not a debate. But there are some things that are open to complete discussion. There are some things that,
And it boils down to, my opinion is that it's always boiled down to one thing, and that's simply just interpretation of Scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of in those scriptures that we're talking about, it's simply, my brain doesn't work like Brady's brain, and my brain doesn't work like Matt's brain. Matt's brain doesn't work like Brady's brain. And so when we read the same scripture, you can pull something out of it completely different than I pulled out, and Matt can pull something out of it completely different than you pulled out. And so when we are able to sit down and be able to have those conversations and not be at each other's throats, but simply sit down in the good spirit of, let's just have a conversation. Oh, I can see how you understood that. I can see where you're getting that from. And okay. And just to listen to people on how they've interpreted the scripture, like you're saying, as long as it's not a core belief or a heaven or hell issue, right? As long as it's not, as none of us are Calvinists, but as a Calvinist would say, once saved, always saved, or once in grace, always in grace, right? None of us believe that. So if we sat down and Brady was trying to explain that to me, that he believes that, then I would have to disagree. But as far as certain things, or certain scriptures in the Bible and how I interpret them,
Yeah.
or something I pull out of them, I think we can all have good conversation. I
Yeah.
know that, like, one person I always think about, and I know at the beginning of this podcast it was mentioned around that time, but I always think of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
That was his whole spirit when he traveled around, was just the fact of it's okay to have some disagreement. It's actually probably healthy to have disagreement amongst friends in a healthy way, not to where we're at each other's throats or we don't like each other, but just to sit down, try to see it and understand where their point of view is coming from. And those are healthy conversations. Like Matt was saying, it's good to have people around you that, we study our Bibles, and there's some men that have studied the Bible longer than we have, and or have had some schooling that we haven't had as far as, classes and things like that. And it's good to be able to sit down, be around those people, and listen to what they have to say, because overall, um, it challenges you, especially if you're a minister sitting around other ministers that have been to school, and you're in one of those conversations where everybody's talking about a subject, and they're discussing it, and they're bringing in scriptures, and they're explaining things that they learned maybe at the Bible college and things like that. You can take those and you can be like, oh, that was awesome to hear, and it challenges you to learn more about that subject. And so that's one thing that's honestly been on my mind a lot lately. But sometimes I think we live in a church world where people get to a place where they're above being challenged. They get to a place where they grow comfortable in their walk, and it becomes uncomfortable to be challenged to walk a little closer, walk a little straighter, stand a little more upright in a way. And those things don't always necessarily have to be God dealing with somebody on sin, but if you're going to draw close to God, I've always found that there's something in your life, if you're really going to purpose in your heart and you really feel a burden to draw close to Him, something's going to have to move out of the way.
Yeah, something's going to have to get uncomfortable, like what we were saying.
You've got to make room for that change. And when you get to that place, I feel like that's one of the biggest things in the church world today is people want to have a comfortable relationship where they can say, I'm saved and I'm going to heaven. And then as long as they feel like they can say that, and they may not necessarily be wrong, but they stay where they're at. They don't challenge themselves to grow closer. But, I find in James, where he says, draw nigh unto God and God will draw nigh unto you. If we're going to really do that, I know I used Brady in an illustration one time in my preaching where I had Brady on one end of a rope and my little brother Conley on the other end, and Conley was playing God and Brady was playing the Christian. And as Brady began to draw closer to God, there was a longer bit of rope behind him than there was in front of him between him and God. And so there was some things that he just had to leave that end of the rope behind and get that out of the way so that he could really draw closer. And when you do those things, it's like Brother Brady was saying, like he's trying to challenge our young people to do, and it's a great challenge, especially in the years that he's talking about that they're at. These are very impressionable years of a young man and a young lady's life where you challenge them to say, allow God to make you uncomfortable. Because when He makes you uncomfortable, if the clay could talk, it's not always comfortable when the potter's hand pushes in one spot. But that's Him molding you. The clay has to become uncomfortable
Yeah.
to fully be molded into what God wants it to be. And so I love getting in conversations. I work with two preachers that go to church here, Simeon Denton and Brother Gabriel Bell. They One is my brother-in-law, the other is a cousin through my wife's family, and we all work together. And I mean, we honestly love being able to sit in the truck on days. I work with my dad now too, which I get to have these conversations with my dad, which is a blessing after
Yeah.
the past year. But we get to sit in and we get to have those conversations where we, bounce scripture off each other. We bounce understanding off each other, and we have those conversations where it really just, when we all walk away from it, nobody's mad at one another, but we all just kind of walk away challenged. We walk away in good spirits because we've been in good, holy conversation. Where the book of Second Peter, I believe, would tell us that to be in holy, keeping ourselves in holy conversation, and I think a righteous conversation, and I think that's just good to have those conversations. And like Brother Brady was saying, it's good to get to a place where you allow God to make you uncomfortable where you are, because that's not only how you're going to draw closer, but I believe that's how God is going to really be able to use someone in their life, is when He can make them uncomfortable, they accept the uncomfortable, and they do what's necessary to draw closer to Him.
Yeah, and one quote that I like to try to live my life by, it might sound silly to some, but this little quote here is what, has helped me a lot in getting uncomfortable. The quote goes, "If you only do what you can do, you will never be more than what you are today."
That's good.
Yeah.
I live by that. And if you can live by that, then you will be okay. It's not going to be great, but you'll be okay with getting uncomfortable, even if it's just for a season. Because it is. You're not going to be uncomfortable forever. But if you can allow God to get you into a place where you can be uncomfortable, that's where things change.
Right. I mean, that's the formula for anybody, even those, if we take it outside of the church realm necessarily, right? And you look at, if you go talk to the bodybuilder, or the weightlifter that wants to be able to lift more, at some point or another, he gets sore, he gets uncomfortable.
Right, and he's got to push past that.
And he's got to push past that to achieve what he wants to. The runner has to run to the point where they almost can't feel their legs and they're uncomfortable. And he's got to push past that, and that's what it builds his endurance. And so you apply those kind of foundations to drawing close to God. And when we apply that, we can challenge ourselves, allow God to challenge us, and really allow the man of God to get up. And I understand sometimes when men of God get up and they preach to us, it seems as if they are preaching harshly. And I don't know a true man of God that I have talked to that has ever gotten up behind the pulpit with really just the intention of hurting somebody's feelings. It's usually when they begin to preach what some would say is kind of hard to hear. It's not that they're there to hurt your feelings. They're there to challenge you. They're there because God has dealt with them on something and it made them uncomfortable. And once they got to where God moved in their life, He told them, go share this with my people. And it's there to make you uncomfortable, not to make you upset, not to make you offended, but it's there to get you out of your comfort zone to where you'll make a decision to draw closer to Him.
Yeah, I think when we think about all that, it really, the key point is that it's thought provoking. When you get in conversations or preacher gets up and preaches. Now, I will say this: unfortunately, there have been some preachers that have gotten up and come at it the wrong way. You know what I mean? And as far as I'm not discounting what Brett Caleb said, but there are some times where preachers get up and they mean it well, but they probably could do it a little bit different.
Yeah,
but
there's a right way and a wrong way to say
Right.
something.
But when you get somebody up there to preach, and I'll tell everybody this, we're going to backtrack a little bit, but Brother Todd Hatcher's meeting was this week. They mentioned, Michaela mentioned something. Did you listen to Saturday night's service? Brother John Brock preaching on building the wall.
I didn't. No.
I want to tell you something. Go back to Saturday night. Go to Mixler. Go to Saturday night's service and listen to it. And we're not here to swing our swords. But Brock preached on Nehemiah where he was there to build the wall. And I won't get into that, but when you get a preacher that comes and they genuinely tell you what God's dealt with them about, and it begins to make you think, okay, I believe this. What's different for me than it is for him? Why does he believe that way and I believe this way? And one of two things. It's either going to change your mind and you're going to say, okay, I see it. Or it's going to challenge you to get more in depth and get more scripture for what you believe. And I think going back to those conversations, sitting with preachers and stuff, we don't have to get mad all the time. And that's just like Charlie Kirk. He was just telling them, we should be able to sit here as human beings and just have a conversation with one another. But the thing is, this world, it's almost in the church world. Sometimes we can't sit and have those conversations because everybody gets, too
caught up in trying to win the argument.
Right. And we're not, God already won, the war. We're not here to fight some war that we're gonna try to have to win. It's not are we gonna win if we win this argument? We're gonna win if we follow the Lord. Doesn't matter necessarily if we believe something. Now there are those black and white, those things that are wrong, such as saved one first saved, always saved. We know that's not right because we know the Bible tells us that we can fall away. But when you get into those places to where you're thought-provoking, conversations to where, okay, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to study. I'm going to try to figure out for myself, why they believe that. And then if I still don't believe that, well, let me study on what I believe. And does it match up? And so, that's kind of why I enjoy that. So I think what we can take away from the conversation we've had so far is that it's good to be challenged. And definitely, as we were talking about, Brother Brady and Sister Sam being the youth leaders, they've got a challenge ahead of them. And I think God's going to bless them and use them. And looking forward to that. Well, if you want to join us next episode, we'll continue this conversation. We got a little bit more to talk about. We'll go into our youth camp and different things. So hopefully you'll come back with us. We want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Testimony. We're truly grateful you took the time to listen and to be a part of this community.
You can listen to Beyond the Testimony on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or spoke to you in any way, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on our social media platforms. Share your thoughts, your questions, and even your own testimony. Your feedback helps shape future episodes.
You can also email us directly at beyondthetestimony@gmail.com. Whether it's comments, questions, or topics you'd like us to cover, we want to hear from you.
Remember, getting uncomfortable isn't always a bad thing. God can use those times to mold you into more. Until next time, stay in the Word, stay faithful, and keep living to tell your story. This has been Beyond the Testimony.